Hey, what's up, Improvement Warrior? Jason Yun back with you again. Welcome back to Improvement Warrior Podcast. This is episode number 76. A recent trip that I took to Louisville, Kentucky for a mastermind meeting with my business coaches and I guess you would call them my peers. But so if you're new here to Improvement Warrior Podcast, this is an alternative podcast, alternative health and wellness podcast. We talk about circadian rhythm, mitochondrial health, hormones, that kind of stuff. We still talk about the fitness and nutrition, but we talk about it in a different way, in a circadian way, because everything has a clock, everything has a reason for doing it. If you're doing stupid things like putting sunglasses on or sunscreen on and expecting to live an optimal life, that is just not going to happen. So share this podcast out to anybody that you feel needs to hear it. And so again, this is going to go over my trip down to Louisville, Kentucky for a mastermind meeting and just basically going over some lessons learned, because I did learn one very, very huge lesson in regards to light indoors. Which I should have known, but I didn't connect the dots quick enough to turn it around and fix it. So, I did finally get my daylight computer. So I got that Wednesday, so I was able to use it at the mastermind, and it's when I got it, I went from complete jubilation to disappointment, because I thought I was actually getting a laptop, but it was just a tablet. But I'm very happy with it. I absolutely love it, and so a laptop would have been better, but I absolutely love it. So certain things you can't do with it, but so I still need to use my Mac and iMac and whatnot, but doesn't take videos, which is like the big downfall, but everything else works pretty awesome on it. So that's pretty exciting. Ordered that in for Black Friday, and just arrived at the end. Oh. But some sponsors for this podcast. So Wild Pastures is the meat delivery company that I use. mRNA, vaccine-free, pasture-raised, grass-fed, grass-finished, all that good stuff. Just my wife went somewhere, and she said she wasn't going to have dinner there, but she eventually had dinner there. So I made pork chops for two yesterday, and so I actually had pork chops for dinner last night from Wild Pastures, and pork chops for breakfast this morning. So it was absolutely delicious. Double treat for me. But you can check them out. I'm on the pork and beef option, but there is a chicken option. But always remember, fowl is fowl except for duck. But Wild Pastures and a local farm here is the only place that we get chicken. So we do just order one whole chicken from them, usually every time that we order from them. But if you want 20% off for life and free shipping, go to improvementwarriorfitness.com/wild pastures. And the other sponsor, EMR Tech. So they are a red light company. They have blue blockers. They have other products and stuff. So I just got the red light mask that is going to be coming. So I'll be highlighting that once I start using that. But remember, red light does not replace sunlight. So sunlight is the most important thing for your health. And if you're not getting it or you're blocking it, then your health will fade. So I use it in the pockets of my day. Usually when I'm cooking, when I'm taking my morning crap, I will put the red light on my bowls as I'm doing that. But yeah, check them out. I think there's a sale still going on. EMR30 is the code, and you'll get 30% off that. But otherwise, if you're listening to this at another time, there's always a discount. And you just go to that link, improvementwarriorfitness.com/EMRTech, and EMRTech, EMRTECH I spelled it wrong. So it's improvementwarriorfitness.com/EMRTECH, and that will automatically give you like I think it's a 10 or a 15% discount. Okay, but some other things going on. You never know when you are inspiring people. So a dude from Green Scoop Dog Poop Removal drove by here, I think 5 days ago, and he basically told me that he was inspired by seeing me every single week out here, dedicated to the sun, dedicated to circadian biology, half naked all the time. And he told me that about his routine and what he's done, and he's lost 50 pounds. So I just put the video up on my stories and put it up on YouTube as a short, and so it was pretty awesome. So it lets me know that there's people actually out there who are not super low dopamine, and they're willing to change once they reach a certain point of getting sick and tired of being sick and tired. So keep living the improvement warrior life, keep living the mitochondriac life, and keep striving for the best version of you, because you never know who's looking and never know who's watching. And your kids, they're always watching. So be the best version of you for them, okay? Especially if you're a dad. We don't need these pussy-ass dads walking around. Yeah, so fuck those dads. All right. But before I get into the days of the lessons and whatnot, the Paul Chek podcast, Living 4D, which I do listen to quite a few episodes, but he had a quote on there that said, it's not his quote, he was quoting somebody, I forget who it was, but the quote was, "The body is to the soul what vision is to the eye." Okay, so you know that I always talk about the eye being the most important organ, being the most important muscle, whatever you want to call it, because that is the gateway for sunlight to get into the brain, and then that sunlight gets transferred all the way through the rest of the body. Okay, so so the body is to the soul what vision is to the eye, and obviously your soul, connecting to your soul, that will help move you forward towards a greater purpose, towards goals, towards not just drifting. Napoleon Hill calls it cosmic habit force. So basically, the universe is calling out to you. So you have to take care of your body in order to take care of your soul. And when you take care of those things, it's like yin and yang. Everything else comes along for the ride. Mitochondria gets better, circadian rhythm gets better, your health gets better, your ability to move. So we shouldn't have pain in our body. We should be able to move throughout our life without pain, without joint discomfort, all that stuff. So all the stuff that I talk about obviously incorporates that. So getting those electrons in, but the body and the soul, super important, and finding your purpose is super important. But if you're not taking care of your body, then you're not truly going to be able to unleash that and be able to chase that. And that's what we want. We want to be always going after our goals, always improving. And that's why I go down to these mastermind meetings, because that's just basically a meeting of the mind, a better minds, people in other places, people in different situations, different businesses, but they're all striving for something better, and they're all moving forward. They all have goals, they all have purpose, they all want to help other people change. So just a quote I wanted to share with you. But so getting into
Yo, Jabrongi, what's the problem? Plan the next day.
All right, so getting into my days for this mastermind meeting. So I left on Wednesday around 5:40, or I think it was after 6. So my goal was 5 o'clock, but my son had tutoring that day, and the tutoring went over 20 minutes, so I wasn't able to get out of the house. But drove down. When I do travel by myself, and when I go down to these mastermind meetings in Louisville, Kentucky, I always book at Deem Lake State Park, just across the border from Louisville. And once I got there, probably got there, I think like 10:15, 10:30, somewhere around there. But it was the most people I've ever seen at the campsite. There was one person directly in the camping site next to me, and then right across from me was another person that was obviously staying there. The person right across from me, they had string blue lights that they hung up and kept on basically 24/7. When I woke up, they were on. When I got back, they were on. When I got there, they were on. So yeah, people need to. I mean, campers want to get away from life, but I mean, you can't just be doing stupid things and bringing blue lights and whatnot. So blue lights, I'm probably going to make the next unknown death causers on blue lights. So I'm still working on the jaws and the orthodontics one, but yeah, blue light, cause of every single disease known to man. But that's why I always bring a tarp with me. So for my tent, that's basically my blackout curtains, and I have to have it here in my backyard as well, because the neighbor right next door has like a very, very bright LED. I don't know if it's LED, but it's very bright. Like it's like one of those headlights, those new stupid ass headlights. So I always keep the tarp over the tent in the backyard here, but I always travel with it. And when I got there, set up the tent. It was very hot both days that I stayed here. So one thing that I always travel with is a portable fan. I highly recommend that. And also came with a grounding cord and my grounding sleeping pillowcase. So typically I just stuffed that under my shirt, but it was so hot I wasn't sleeping with shirts on both these nights in Deem Lake. So basically just set the sleeping bag on the mat, on my blanket. So but yeah, very noisy there until probably until I got finished setting up everything. So it was probably 11 o'clock before I was able to get into or get everything set up, and then 11:30 is probably when I went to bed. Had to get my 10,000 steps in for that, but sweating profusely as I was setting that up. So that's one thing, is we need to make it cool for our sleep, and that's why I do bring the portable fan. But understand, I don't know if the portable one will have as much as like a ceiling fan, but if you have like a ceiling fan or something that plugs into an actual AC electric socket, it is creating a alien magnetic field. So just be aware of that. But if you're camping and that's all you have, then it's better to be cool and deal with that. What I do when I am camping in my backyard, I have a chili pad, a dog chili pad, and basically like I have an alarm that goes off at like 5:43 that tells me to set up all my stuff, plug in all my stuff, plug in my diffuser, plug in my fan, and put the dog chili pad in the freezer. So so typically I'll just, when I'm sleeping on that, I'll just lay it out, I'll lie on it, and typically it's like, it starts off really cold, so it cools me down, but as the night goes, it basically stops getting frozen, and so it goes from cold to not as cold. So it helps with your sleep, because the colder temperatures when you are sleeping is supposed to bring out more melatonin to help you get into those deeper stages of sleep, stage 3 and stage 4, where the autophagy and apoptosis occurs, which is our change programs for getting better and getting healthier and restoring our proteins and restoring our DC electric current and restoring everything that we need, so we don't have to wake up and drink coffee in the morning. And that first night I slept like a baby. I don't remember waking up at all during. Very odd when I do sleep in a tent, because usually I do have to move positions, or my dog is in the tent with me when I'm home, and she's moving or she does something stupid. But yeah, slept like a baby that first night. So then the first day, so Deem Lake is about 35 to 40 minutes away from my business coach Pat Rigsby's house, and so I drove down to the house, and when I got there was no lights on, and usually they have a bunch of lights on, so so there's no lights on. So eventually I did, when I always go in prepared, so I will have long sleeves, long pants. I'll put the neck gaiter on to protect my thyroid. Thyroid is the number one place to protect your, is the number one place after the eyes to protect. So obviously the skin is a giant eyeball, or you can think of it as billions and billions of little eyeballs and little mouths as well. So neck gaiter, and then the blue blockers, and then the hat to obviously protect the head. So went in there, and basically when I go there I always feel off, because because you're basically in there all day. You do get a lunch and whatnot, and there's little breaks throughout the presentations and whatnot. So typically 10-minute breaks, and then typically like an 80-minute break for lunch. So before lunch, I felt like my normal self when I am there, because there's Wi-Fi on, and it was very strong Wi-Fi. But I felt like I normally do when I go to these things. And then we broke for lunch. I went down. Typically when I go to lunch, typically he lives right around the corner from like a strip mall, so there's like 10 or 15 different places that people go, and that's typically where all the other people go for lunch. But I typically drive it's like a half a mile down, and there's like a church and like a big grassy area, and I just typically go there, park my car, obviously take my clothes off down to my kaniki, and then I just eat my food. So always, well, not always, but my last few trips down there, I have made just a can of salmon, so about 10 ounces of salmon, had some pumpkin seeds with it, and then I added honey mustard with it. So avocado mayo, mustard, and honey, and I do equal parts of it, so I think it was like 1.5 ounces of each of those, and then just mix that up, and it's absolutely delicious. So had that for lunch, and made about, I think, 12,000 IU of vitamin D while I was there for lunch. And so ate the lunch, and then basically I walked around to try and get my steps. But then I went back for the second half of the day, and this was where things really started to take a downturn, because the first part of the day I did have my blue blockers on, because they did turn on the lights, because they were recording a segment for the Facebook group for the people that were not able to attend. So I probably had it was probably 50%. I had my glasses off and the glasses on during that first part. But the second part of the day, there was no lights on, so I had the glasses off completely. But towards the end of the day, I noticed there was no windows open, and I was dying, let's say. I was just not feeling my normal self. My temples were extremely heated up. The front of my, like right between my eyebrows, is typically where I get like really heated up, and my eyeballs were, it's hard to explain, but it felt like they were like jutting out a little bit. God. All right, hold on one second. I didn't touch my computer long enough, or in enough time, so it's loading photos. Hopefully this is still recording. All right, so, but that's typically how I feel when I am in an environment for too long, and I know that I need to get out and recharge, basically. So, but that was the worst I've ever felt, and basically I didn't notice it until like the final like 30 minutes. I'm like, oh, hey, windows aren't open. That's probably why I feel like absolute shit right now, because didn't have the blue blockers on. When you have windows closed, it's still going to be a negative light environment, even if there's no lights on, because the windows, they block, depending on the window, 97, 98, 99% UVA, 100% UVB, 40 to 60% red light, but they let all the visible light in, which is going to include the bad. Lesson learned. So the second day I was able, I did not, well, the lights were on all day, so I had the blue blockers on all day, but I typically felt like I normally feel when I go down there, not like I did the second half of the first day. But going to these meetings, it's basically, like I said, it's a meeting of the mind, but they typically, everybody there besides me is a fitness professional. They own a gym, they own a studio, or they own some kind. So when I go there, it is typically like seeing the old me, and it's very interesting, and it's very, very sad, and because I know that when I was doing that and teaching that and living that lifestyle, it was what obviously it got me my hormone issues, and they can't see anything different because that's all they know. And when they hear me talk about things like this, so like the sunlight, the sunglasses, the non-native EMF, there was probably 70% of the people had Apple Watches on. Only one AirPod that I saw, but laptops on the lap. Okay, it was just just very sad, and yeah, it's something that needs to. Well, it's that way because it's that way for a reason. They want us addicted to our technology, and they want us to believe certain things, and they want us to stay focused on that. And then they want us to, if something like me comes along and says, hey, circadian biology is number one, or Jack Cruz comes along and says, your mitochondrial health is the most important thing, when it goes up against somebody like that, you're not going to hear that message. Because, as I've said before, it took me 7 or 8 or 9 times watching Nourish Vermont 2017 from Dr. Cruz before I actually even did anything, because it was such a punch to the balls that against what I've learned about fitness and what I learned about nutrition, because I would have died on that stool saying, if you work out and if you follow a good diet, you're healthy. And that could be nothing can be further from the truth from that. And yeah, so it just pisses me off that I would take the same, everybody that came in got the same workout routine. Doesn't matter if they were of good weight, if they were already fit, or if they were 200 pounds overweight. They would get the same routine. And so, yeah, I know I was hurting people, and I know the fitness industry hurts people. So, but it's, yeah. So the nutrition industry hurts people, and they just don't know it. They just don't. They're not willing to take a look at the information. They're not willing to become a client. Like, they want their clients to do certain things, but yeah, my message is they have to do certain things to order to raise their dopamine in order to get out of that basically mind trap. So, but I was trapped in that for decades. I opened my business in 2007 and didn't find Dr. Cruz until late 2018. But obviously my hormone issues built up from years of abuse. So doing the waking up at 4:30 a.m. to teach a 5:15 a.m. class, and then my last class was at 7:30, so not ending until 8:15, not getting home till like 8:45, 9 o'clock, eating at 9 o'clock, starting to cook at 9 o'clock, 9:15, not finishing eating until 9:45, 10 o'clock, going to bed at 10:45, and then doing it again. So, and a lot of times it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That was my 5:15 a.m. boot camp. But there's like a period of 2 or 3 years where I did it every single day. But Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Then the next Tuesday I didn't have class until like in the afternoon. So I would sleep in, miss the sunrise, miss the UVA, all that stuff. So getting your sleep cycle or sleep wake up time is consistent as possible is one of the most important things for your circadian rhythm. I typically just keep it in sync with the sunrise times. Typically 10, 20, typically no more than 30 minutes before sunrise, unless it is like the winter where it's like 8 p.m. So I have to wake up at 7 to get my daughter to the bus stop and whatnot. But that's something that has to be incorporated, is the seasonal changes, because those are very, very important to understand that they are going to happen, unless you live in the tropics or the equator. The time is going to change. So schedules need to change, habits need to change, things typically need to change in order to match yourself, because if that circadian rhythm gets thrown off, then certain bad things are going to happen, hormone issues and whatnot. So yeah, but that was I know what I need to do, because that's what the purpose of a mastermind is. Napoleon Hill talks about mastermind, so you can like YouTube Napoleon Hill mastermind, but he talked about it. So just getting together with other minds that can help you grow your business and serve more people. And even if it isn't a business mastermind, I mean, getting into groups that are moving forward, healthier groups, wellness groups, that kind of stuff. And but that's one of the things that I want to get out more, is to other groups, because this message of circadian rhythm, of circadian biology, it is not out there really at all. So the other day this is off topic, but the other day, every day I have my EMF fanny pack, which I carry flyers from Children's Health Defense on 10 reasons why AirPods are killing you, and the references are on that as well. I handed it to a woman, finally handed it to her. So I always see her. She's always either got AirPods and sunglasses on, or if it's not sunny, then she typically has the AirPods in. But stopped her, gave it to her, and she wasn't wearing sunglasses when I gave it to her. But I also gave her my postcard, which was the unknown death causer postcard that says these things are killing you: sunglasses, sunscreen, AirPods, all that stuff. And I saw her 3 days ago, still wearing the AirPods, still wearing the sunglasses. So that tells me that's not a person that I want to be engaging in, or engaging with. So those are the kind of people that steal your electrons. Those are the kind of people that steal your dopamine. So people, when I am at these mastermind meetings, like you'll see, I'll see like certain curious people come up and ask me, why do I do this? Why do I do that? Yeah. So, but it's not the whole group. Yeah. So it's not. Their cognitive dissonance is basically keeping it away because they still fundamentally believe that they are doing a good thing by getting people in the gym, working out under blue lights, working out under Wi-Fi, and all that stuff. So, yeah. But what do I want to talk about? The second day, second day night's sleep was pretty much the same. I did wake up a couple times throughout the night. It was even hotter that night. And well, I made it hotter because my steps were, I had to get like an extra 3,000 or 4,000 steps before bed. So I just walked around the campsite, which heated me up a little bit more, and I didn't get to bed until I think 11:30. So typically I try to get to asleep by 10:45 is what I like to do, but that doesn't always work. So my sleep bedtime is not as consistent. Missed the thing again. Sleep bedtime not as consistent as my wake up time throughout the year. But yeah, and then that second day did drain me. So it's very tiring being inside for me all day long under Wi-Fi and whatnot. On the drive home, I was basically almost falling asleep. There was one where I fell asleep, I think, or like it was like a split second. It was like, okay, I know I need to get to a rest area, get something in me to. So I did stop at a gas station, got 2 bags of pistachios and a 5-hour energy. I only drank half the 5-hour energy, but that was enough to basically wake me up and keep me going to Columbus, Ohio. But yeah, so you got to do what you got to do, because obviously I can't fall asleep at the wheel and kill myself, kill other people, and whatnot. Yeah, and I had to get home because had to get home because I wanted to see my kids and family before they left for tennis. But yeah, that is so. This trip really taught me. Obviously, next time maybe I should ask to have the windows open. Don't think that's too big of a request. And yeah, but every time I travel, typically it gets more ingrained into me that this lifestyle is the way. Because typically everybody was on coffee. Everybody wakes up, drinks their morning coffee. When I first got there, first thing I saw was when I first got to my business coach's house, thing I saw was him on the phone, talking on his cell phone against his head. So, but yeah, and then phones in pockets, like Apple Watches galore, and yeah, so it's just whenever I go places that is not my typical, it's a wake-up call, and I realize that this stuff, it's really not known, and it's going to take a long, long, long time before it becomes like fitness or nutrition and how people talk about it. And it's like, oh, I need to lose weight. Okay, you need to go on diet, you need to work out. Okay, so that's ingrained in us, but it is ingrained wrong. Cognitive dissonance there is just huge and bad. So it really instills in me that I need to continue to teach, continue to make these podcasts, make these videos, put it out there, so that that anybody you think needs to hear it, because the message does need to get out. The message that the sun is not bad, and I mean they're trying to block it. They're putting, if you live in a major metropolitan area like I do, chemtrails all the time. Although I haven't seen them here in a while, but still, I mean, once they put it up there, it's blocking the sun a little bit, so you're not getting as much UV, which is a problem. And I mean, they know what they're doing with light. They know what they're doing, keeping you under artificial light. They know what they're doing, keeping you out of sunlight and raising your dopamine so you can think better and not fall in line with their programming and whatnot. But yeah, grounding, DHA, sunlight. So those recharges really do matter. And so you need to be really in tune with your body, because remember when I talked about the body being part of the soul, and the soul being part of the body. So take care of your body and recognize how you feel when you go to certain places. Where do you feel the best? Where do you feel the worst? Okay, recognize that. Recognize how you feel. Recognize how you feel after eating certain things. So if you've been eating certain foods all your life and they're not being kosher with your body, so they're giving you signs that, hey, you shouldn't be eating this, then maybe it's time for an elimination diet. Okay, or maybe it's time for a change in your diet. So all these people are talking about the sugar diet now, which I will eventually make a podcast on it, but come on. Nothing beats, well, I mean, not nothing, but fasting is the way to go if you're trying to increase autophagy, increase apoptosis, increase your health and whatnot. But the sugar loading deuterium into your body and all that stuff. There was one mitochondriac who made a podcast talking about the benefits, so I'm going to listen to that, and then I'm going to listen more to other people and what they're eating. But I mean, some people were eating like jelly, Skittles, just like fat-free stuff, because apparently you can't have fat when you're sugar fasting. So obviously Skittles, red dye, yellow dye, all that crap and whatnot. But yeah, so yeah, grounding, sunshine, DHA, all these things, super, super important. If you have not downloaded my Mitochondriac guide, please do so. Or if you need a refresher on it, re-download it, improvementwarriorfitness.com/mitochondriac, and 17 steps. So you can go through those. Always try and be as consistent as possible. And yeah, take notice of your body. What is it telling you? It should not be in pain. It should not have not like indigestion. It should not have stomach aches or blobs or stuff coming out. So anytime there's an issue with the outside skin, it's telling you inside things are going even worse. So listen to your body, listen to your soul, take care of both, find your purpose, find your goals, and move forward. So that is pretty much all I got for this podcast. Went a little longer than I thought this one would be, but hopefully you found something of value in it. Always looking for the reviews and ratings, so please do that. 5 stars, so this podcast can get out there, found in the algorithms and all that stuff, which kind of keeps this information shut down over fitness and nutrition and whatnot, and biohacking as well. So another danger. So some of it's good, some of it's bad. The over supplementation is obviously not something that we want. But yeah, so if you do want to support the podcast, the best way is Patreon, improvementwarriorfitness.com/Patreon. Any membership on there, you can get access to the full webinar. It was my Circadian Biology Part 4 webinar, which went over light, water, magnetism. So if you haven't listened to any of the Circadian Biology webinars, that's the one you should listen to, because that's the three-legged stool: light, water, magnetism. But you can also get the full webinar at Improvement Warrior University Premium. That is improvementwarriorfitness.com/IWU. And IWU is where I put up everything. All my previous posts, most of my courses will go up there. All the free webinars and all the premium webinars will be up there as well. So that is basically an ongoing community and whatnot. And once we get more people enrolled in there, we'll probably start doing Q&As and whatnot, and special things for the people in there. Okay, but yeah, so that's basically it. Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Again, share it out with anybody that you feel needs to hear the message, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Stay strong, stay positive, be the improvement warrior.